Nelly, the reign of Nelly Korda, 6 out of the last 7. I'm starting to lose words. Superlatives are escaping me now. What is up, everybody? How you living? We're back, Tony and Chris. Another episode of No Putts Given. Before we get too deep again, subscribe. Make sure you get the notifications. Do all that stuff. And today, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Lab Golf. We're going to talk about some more Lab Golf things. Big week, Tony, as per usual, on the professional tours. Lots to talk about from the PGA Championship. We'd be remiss not to first maybe mention, though, Nelly, the reign of Nelly Korda, 6 out of the last 7. I'm starting to lose words. Superlatives are escaping me now.
Yeah, and look, this is golf, and what separates Tiger maybe from everybody else in the men's game, at least, within the last couple decades, is just the duration of greatness. But the run she is on right now is kind of like what we would expect to see from peak Tiger. We're like, it's just going to go out. You expect her to win, and that's just how it is.
Right.
It's unreal.
Right. Every conversation starts with Nelly or the field, and it's like a toss-up. Like it's a reasonable debate, right?
It's not. I'm just like, I'll take Nelly. Thanks.
Yeah. So awesome. Again, out of superlatives, not sure what else to say. Got to give a shout out to my man, big, beautiful, Harry Higgs. High five, Harry Higgs. Did you see this, though? He holed out. Of course he didn't. He holed out Corn Ferry event. We know Harry's been back and forth between PGA Tour, Corn Ferry Tour, and does not have the full playing status he would like, so he's on Corn Ferry Tour this week. Needs an eagle on 18 to get into a playoff. Holes out from like 65 yards.
Well, what else are you going to do?
He holed out.
Yeah, well.
And then won the darn thing on the first playoff hole.
He said he needed an eagle. So if you need an eagle, you make an eagle. Like, this isn't hard.
That's what you go do.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
He's one of those guys you would just love to see him on the PGA Tour full-time and playing well, which is obviously a big ask, because if everybody could play well on the PGA Tour,
they would
probably do it.
They would. We need more of Joel Damon and Harry Higgs going shirtless. When they made maybe not. Maybe we don't need that, but it sure was exciting. Anyway, PGA Championship. Let's break all this stuff down. Where should we start? How about this? What was your biggest surprise? Let's start with the surprises.
The surprise is Scottie Scheffler getting arrested. I think if you've got to pick something, maybe. Yeah, I'll go with that. More so than anything that really happened on the golf course.
Just a bizarre deal. Hopefully that all gets sorted out. But man, it kind of files into that, truth is stranger than fiction category. Nobody had that on their bingo card at all. And there are impacts to that. He did not play as well as he would have liked, particularly in the third round. Nobody is going to blame him for actually being human. And, he said he didn't feel like himself. I can't imagine how you would feel like yourself after having something like that happen. And he still came out and shot 66 that particular day, which is pretty remarkable. So I'll agree with you. That was the most shocking, surprising, bizarre thing that happened, particularly off the course.
Yeah, on the course, I'm looking at the leaderboard, and in any tournament, you're going to see some guys names you didn't expect to see or have never seen before in your life, maybe near the top. That happens in everyone. I think if I'm looking down the list and going, all right, who didn't finish where I thought they would? Koepka T26 is probably the one I'd single out.
Mm-hmm. How about Rahm? How about Wyndham Clark? Didn't get to play the weekend. They kind of no-showed They're kind of major no-shows. That was a major disappointment for me, especially after Rahm saying how he's in great form, or where people were being critical of the form that he was in, and then misses a cut. Again, kind of throws, talks about how he's still on the PGA Tour or member of the PGA Tour, albeit a suspended member of the tour. He's a member of the PGA Tour in name only. Aaron Oberholzer on Golf Channel basically threatened, a Class D felony, assault. He's like, I'd reach out and choke him or whatever if I could. I'm sure there's a lot of other players that feel that way. And then you have a chance to come out and back it up with your play on the course, and straight up whiffs. So,
and especially, I mean, if you're going to nitpick and you say, given how soft the course played for the better part of the tournament, you would expect somebody like Jon Rahm to go out and tear it up, and that didn't happen. But again, like, golf is hard. Nobody tears it up every weekend.
There's variance, right? Yeah.
So, and that's always kind of, when you talk about the live guys in particular, like, are they going to be there every week like they would? Every week, meaning every major week, like they would as tour players? Are they going to play to the level you expect? Or is there something fundamentally in the lack of real or true meaningful competition on live that's going to kind of take a little bit of the teeth out of the game? I mean, I don't, obviously you can't say that happened with DeChambeau. Right. He was right there. I mean, Koepka, again, didn't play lights out, drifted a bit towards the end, but he was, it wasn't terrible by any stretch. So, but that's always the thing. Like, again, is there a competitive penalty to be paid for essentially not competing at the same level you would have been?
Boy,
I don't know.
This gets to the Bryson stuff a little bit too, because there are plenty of PGA Tour players that did not play well. I think the first place they look is that there's variance, right? Like, you're not always going to play your best. You want to peak for majors. There's a lot that goes into that, but I mean, if you want an example of potentially what that could look like, hey, does money, in kind of that situation, remove competitive desire to get better? Hi, Dustin Johnson. Bye, Dustin Johnson. Like, he's maybe exhibit A of that. But let's talk about Bryson. Like, do I have to like Bryson now?
No.
Like,
nobody had, no. I get it, right? We kind of have this conversation like, oh, he's a villain and now he's a good guy, and like, no, he's just a guy. He's just a guy trying to find a way, find his place. And look, when you kind of analyze all of the, like, why do these guys go to live, right? It's money. Right? Everybody went because of money. Like, there's nobody who's going to look you in the eye or with a straight face or whatever and say, hey, I went because of something other than the cash. But I think with Bryson, I think he's a guy, and you can, I maybe put Dustin Johnson in the other side of the category where, like, winning majors, I think, is still hugely important to Bryson. Like, I think he wants to do that. He wants to be seen as one of the best, if not the absolute best in the world. He has that competitive fire, if you will. And so, he went for money, but I also think with him, we talked about in our editorial meeting this morning, some of the stuff like his YouTube channel and some things, like, just even on the equipment side to an extent, freedom, right? Like, total freedom to operate in a way that, let's be honest, the PGA Tour does not afford any athlete the ability to do.
Let alone somebody who pushes the kind of buttons that Bryson does, Yeah,
I'm not just gonna go, oh, well, you can overlook, like, the shitty Saudi thing. I still think that's real, but look, the motivations for Bryson are maybe a little bit different as the number 2 on the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you can say whatever you want. I've been super critical of Bryson. I can guarantee you, he'll still say some egregiously moronic things, whether it is about equipment or needing to be the smartest guy in the room, and he has this persona where I think that is still the case. But you can say whatever you want. One of the biggest things that, for me personally as a viewer, when I watch these events and those things, I just want to see players that care about the consequence of playing well or not or whatever. And I think that was evident with Bryson. I mean, he said, he chipped in for eagle, whatever, on the end of the third day on 18, and, kind of put that in his, top shots in recent memory, maybe next to the 58 he shot at Greenbrier. And, we're talking about a shot on the third round of a major tournament. and this being something that really got him going. So the fact that he cared that much, and he is entertaining because he's such an outlier. You can say, yeah, okay, he hits his 8-iron 220 yards. It's not a real 8-iron. It's like a 6-iron, maybe. And he does hit the ball a long way, but he also didn't carry it 220 yards or whatever. Point being, he's an outlier of outliers, and he is entertaining.
And we talk about what happens when Tiger is all the way gone. He didn't make the cut, and he was still a conversation. Right. Well, there's sort of like, he's still here.
He's somewhere.
No.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one to step up? And I think maybe Bryson is probably a little too quirky for the masses but in terms of entertainment, like the guy that you want to watch, because you never know what he's going to do. He's not afraid to try something crazy with his one-length clubs and his, different interpretation of the physics of the game and all of that.
Right.
And the fact that he sometimes is, I'm trying to think of the best way to, emotionally volatile. How's that? Like just kind of hard on the sleeves sometimes. So,
seen him scream at machines, literally like getting an arguing match with a launch monitor, Yeah. So this is him.
You kind of hope, and look, like he's a quirky dude, right? He's a little strange. It's just how he is. You can't fault him for it. You just kind of hope that for the good of the game, he kind of settles in. And maybe we saw a little bit over the weekend, right? Where like he finds a comfort zone. Right. He's like, I can be myself and still find a way to be likable to an extent. Like let's find that right balance. And if he can strike that continuously, he has the potential. And we talk again, his YouTube channel, like genuinely entertaining, some good tips. We didn't think the most of his rollback video, but that doesn't mean we hate everything. We think it's all trash. Like,
sure.
He's doing good stuff. He's putting himself out there, making good content, as again, probably in a way that the PGA Tour wouldn't have been all in on.
No way they would have let him. No.
And so like he has the potential to be the guy if he can just remove just a little bit of that divisiveness. But it's a big ask, but big picture, he's great for the game. Always has been. Always has been.
Yeah, not lost on us that like improving his persona, becoming more fan friendly by effectively going to the bad guys to become a good guy. That is a thing. But we got Xander 1. Okay, so Xander Schauffele, like being remiss to talk about this whole tournament, right? And not talk about the guy who won the darn thing. His first major. He's been close. We've talked about it. He can't close, all these things, blah, 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 blah. Which is
we've talked about it before, right? One shot at Augusta, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think a bad target, not even a bad shot. He chose a bad target, missed by a little bit, and that's the only thing. One shot between Xander and a green jacket.
Razor thin, right?
Yeah. So if you want to say, hey, a guy who can't close, come on. Like it was always a matter of time. So in terms of if you look at the list going in you look at this list and go, who is the guy in this tournament who has never won a major, right? That list we talk about. Best golfer to never win a major. Xander. It's been Xander for a while.
Yeah.
And so I've always felt it was a matter of time. And so here you go. No surprise.
Real quick, before we take a look in, we talk this is a lot of firsts, and he represents the first of a lot of things here. Who's the player on that list now who just went to the top of the best player to never have won a major? To me, it's one of two people. It's either Hovland or Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, so we put up a survey in our newsletter today, and we'll put a subscribe link in there. Let's see if we can get people to subscribe to the newsletter.
Sure, might as well join 190,000 other people. Get on there.
Yeah, so we put up a poll, and early returns, Hovland by a mile. And it's strange. Like, I think he's one of these guys who's been around longer than I think. I just feel like, is he? Like, he's been at this 2 years. Like, that's 32. What it feels like.
Nope. Yeah. He's like 26.
Yeah. So but I think it's Hovland. You could make a case for Cantlay and probably, over the full length of a resume, I think Cantlay may be the right answer. But I think Hovland is the guy you want at the top of that list, so you can be really happy when he gets off it.
Yeah, Hovland's going to wear that crown, whether it's a court of public opinion or break it down by data or whatever. I think he just ascended to maybe the least wanted crown in all of golf.
According to
golf.
the survey results, it is not Taylor Gooch. So
hey, but he played in the tournament, so there are no asterisks. So Xander can have that. So we were talking how this is kind of a first in a lot of ways. Obviously, a first major for a player of Xander's caliber. That is an absolute huge deal. But what else, Tony? It was a first for a couple other reasons.
Yeah, I believe, no doubt about it. Right, we know who won. So this will be the first major with the Chrome Tour.
Mm-hmm.
So good on Callaway for that. And then one that warms my heart. This is the first major victory with a Toulon design putter. So congrats not only to Xander, but a little piece to Sean. I will give him that much credit.
Got to give a shout out to Team Toulon. We got, Sean and the boys now running Toulon Design. Fantastic putter company. And like you said, enjoy the banter back and forth with those fellows, but glad to see them get a piece of that recognition as well. We look through his bag again as a Callaway staffer. Nothing super surprising. It's kind of a good bridge to our equipment roundup section.
But
nothing super crazy, but what?
So,
you noticed something, Tony?
Couple 2-3 things stand out. Couple 2-3, yeah. So I believe he's got the utility wood in there, correct?
I believe so.
So he's got kind of like it's not a hybrid, not a fairway wood, the tweener. His 3 wood is the HL. So we think tour players, stronger lofts typically in the 3 wood. He's one of those guys, more of a 4 wood loft.
Yep.
That. And then we go to the wedges and 2 Vokey SM10s in the bag. So there's almost every contract kind of has a couple holes in it where you can sneak something in. And so with Xander, it's a couple Vokeys. Again, low bounce K again. I don't know.
We're seeing it. It's
interesting. Like when I kind of think about why, part of it is, hey, Vokey's got a reputation. Guys are comfortable with it. When you go into the van and you're working with Aaron Dill and the team, they're going to get you into something that's going to work. Right. The other thing, and
they're not going to mess up. They're not going to miss. Yeah.
And we look. So he's got a 52-degree Callaway jaws raw. Okay, but when you get into the higher lofts, sand wedge, lob wedge,
specialty wedges, right?
Well,
really,
my opinion
here. Wedge.
Yeah, anything above a gap wedge, my opinion, Callaway's shaping is not the best. Like, I don't think there are a lot of guys who are going to put down a Callaway wedge and go, I love the way this looks, right? They just show a lot of offset, top lines a little thinner than a lot of what you see. And we talked about it just a little bit when we were out there with what they've done with the irons, right? Where they, this year, the paradigm, we look at these and go, all right, we've never seen, or at least in a long time, seen a Callaway wedge that looks, or Callaway iron, this shape good. That looks this good.
Yes, the shaping was much improved. We both agreed on that.
I'm hoping to see something similar with the wedges. So that's just, I don't actually know anything, but I'm hoping. Let's see.
Hey, if you say it with enough confidence. Sounds like you do. Yeah. No, for sure. And like I said, kind of a nice bridge into our equipment recap, a couple things. We got to talk again, really, we're going to focus in on two items here on the equipment side of it. And we're going to get a little deeper in the weeds with Mizuno in a second, but let's start with a brand new driver coming out or being released. This will be yesterday by the time that this airs. And again, we're going to stick with the team at Callaway. This is a Callaway triple diamond. Wait for it. Triple diamond max. Now, at first,
hold on. Let's not cut any corners here. Callaway Paradigm AI Smoke triple diamond max. This is never going to be a Wheel of Fortune answer. Like there's not enough.
It sounds like a playing the West Coast offense, though. Mixed to slot right, two exposed Z slant.
Somewhere like Harry Arnett is going to hear about this and be like, guys, that's too much. This is
all right. Now, I'm sure other people are thinking this. If you're familiar with the Callaway lexicon, right? Triple diamond tends to be a lower spinning model. Sometimes it's even a smaller head shape, certainly a smaller footprint. Max tends to be the opposite, the more forgiving, larger. So now it's like you're saying two things that are diametrically
This does
opposed.
not
Now we
make
have
sense.
so
Yeah, this is
what?
one of those why I'm like, what the hell? This does not make any sense. How do you have a triple diamond max and you're like, oh, wait a minute, or is this just like so on the nose? And that's what it is.
Right.
It is completely on the nose. It's like, all right,
Okay.
what if you took a triple diamond but maxed it?
So talk me through this. So where does this fit? What is it? I have questions.
Yeah,
Because
so
I was fit into the triple diamond. That's in my
I
bag
was,
right now.
you were, Bennett was. Yeah, and I don't
Yep.
know what Bennett's playing. I haven't checked, but I've started the year with it in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
It's subject to change at any moment. That's how it
As
goes.
it always is. But I really like mine.
We did, we both were like, and really even the max too, as guys who, at least for me, have not been fans of Callaway drivers for a number of years. Like I tell people, right, the last one I played with any regularity is the FT9. And so we've gone from FT9, about 100 drivers, and now, I love this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we've got, like, I was when we got fit, could make a strong case for the triple diamond. Old Callaway. Triple diamond on distance and the fact that it was relatively straight.
Sure.
Or the max because it was really straight, not quite as long for me, but really straight. And so, as I say in the story I wrote, if you had asked me at the time, like, how would you like something right between the two? I'd be like, sold. Just hand it over. I don't even know I don't even need to hit it. If you can tell me it's these two together, like, solid. So, and that's kind of how it's getting billed. Although I would tell you, it's more triple diamond than max. So you're getting essentially the same shape as a triple diamond, just kind of upsized a little bit. So with that little bigger footprint that we talk about, face profile not as tall. So you'll notice that address. If you like that big, tall face, you may not love this as much. Forgiveness, right? You're going to get a little bit more forgiveness. You're going to pick up a little spin with that as well. So it's again, it's like, where's the trade-off here? And then you've got a pair of movable weights, right? You can flip-flop and tune that way as well, plus the housing. So this is one where I'm like, I saw this and I was like, oh shit. Like, this is,
I hope that's exactly what I'm thinking it is.
This is exciting. And then there's kind of that Happy Gilmore moment, something that should have been brought to my attention yesterday. Like, why wasn't this in the lineup day one? And I know it's a lot. They essentially, with the lightweight stuff, came to market with 4. So this becomes number 5, and that's a lot. But at the same time, like,
it's
just feel
fresher
like,
and exciting, and
I just feel like though that space between triple diamond and max is like that is a sweet spot to be in my mind. So I'm not going to be mad about it. But from a consumer perspective, like, it would have been nice if you'd had this at the beginning. But
what do you think people should expect if they take me? I haven't seen it, haven't hit it. I'm dialed into the triple diamond. I love it. I have 0 complaints. They said I was fit into it. It's been great. If I were to hit that same setup, etc., what would be reasonable for me to expect to see if I did hit them side by side?
So I would expect the max is going to be, triple diamond max is going to be a little straighter just in general. I like that. Little more forgiveness. And the other thing too, when you look at kind of the natural designed weighting, if you will. So we talk about the triple diamond being slightly fade biased, the standard max being slightly draw biased,
more
slightly
neutral bias.
And so again, right in the middle, what do you get? Neutral. That's where we talk about some of the Callaway stuff in the past that I thought was pretty good, like a Max LS. They're saying, hey, this is different than what we've done before, and I think probably is then it's a little more towards, like I said, towards that triple diamond side. But it's gonna, for me, my hope, right? It's not gonna have they say less workable. So to me, less workable, more straightable. Like, it just kind of wants to go straight on its own. You're gonna get
every
a little more
term's the opposite of the thing it isn't, right?
So workable is typically the opposite of forgiving. I'm expecting should fly a little straighter. It's going to spin a little more. You can tune some of that out with the hosel and the weights and everything. So it's one, as a guy who, like I said, was really felt like I can make a strong case for either one. And if you gave me the middle, I'd be overjoyed. And so, that perspective hasn't changed. This is kind of the middle, or maybe even if you said the middle, but more to the triple diamond side, I'd maybe even like that better. So Yeah, I'm good with it. Like I said, I wish they'd done it sooner.
Well,
I'd hate to be a guy like me who bought one. Be like,
right.
well, I'm in the middle, but I'll take this one. And then,
Yeah.
what are we, 5 months later? Here's the middle. I'm like,
Right. The biggest to me, yeah, I totally agree with that. The other piece is, when we look at most wanted testing from this year, and we look at, obviously, Triple Diamond did really well. The draw enhanced version, or the draw enabled version, was freaky long, and again across multiple swing speeds, etc. A question in my mind is, had this also been included? Like, to me, this one seems like it could go more toe to toe with 10K, because it does have that little bit more forgiveness. I'm not putting it in the 10K forgiveness category. I'm not putting it in line with Ping in that regard at all necessarily, but we kind of had billed the number one and number two drivers like, hey, if you want absolute max forgiveness without giving up much, if any, ball speed, Ping. If you want maximum ball speed with sufficient forgiveness, Triple Diamond. But now we're kind of like saying this might be that happy medium. So, I mean, I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued. Just color me that way. I'm intrigued. On to the next one. You wrote an article. I love this article. I want to, there's going to be more of these, so you can kind of set this up as well. But Mizuno has kind of a tortured history, particularly recently, with drivers. And we're going to kind of cover that in multiple stories this year, and kind of look through kind of where they've been. Not too dissimilar from, you were on the documentary that Titleist did on the TS project, kind of looking at, Titleist kind of not woke up one day and realized they had to get serious about drivers, but kind of woke up one day and realized they had to get serious about drivers. Mizuno's kind of had a similar epiphany, if you will, but they're in a different part of that journey.
for sure. And I think, the difference is too, for whatever we want to say about Titleist drivers pre-TS, and what we would say is they were slow and spinny. But through all of that, they always had tour play, right? There was,
Titleist was 917,
right,
the 907,
fully remained fully committed to the tour, and they would tell you when those drivers were fully and properly fit, they could compete with everything. Mizuno, somewhere along the way, abandoned the tour completely, and so that was, one of the things I appreciate talking to Chris Rochelle at Mizuno, and David as well over there, David Matthews, not Dave Matthews,
not the Dave Matthews, but different Mizuno's David Matthews.
But like, there's, they are transparent, they are forthcoming and honest about mistakes, and it's easy to kind of, they say hindsight, right, 2020, look back and go, yeah, we got this wrong. We misread tea leaves, we gambled on the wrong thing, whatever the case may be. And a lot of times when you talk to companies, and it's obvious that mistakes were made along the way, and you bet the wrong horse, things like that. There's always reticence to kind of admit it. You kind of spin it a little bit. Mizuno tends to be very truthful, upfront, and transparent about it. And so when you can have those conversations, and really it gives you a good sense of how things went wrong. And so when you hear things like, we stopped designing drivers for the tour, to the point where, when you understand, you read all the stories, right? Every story just about is like, well, designed and based on feedback from tour players, right? The best players in the world told us what they
in concert with our tour professional
staff. And we built it, and it works for the very best. It'll work for you. Where Mizuno was like, we stopped even talking to them. We kind of just show them what we were working on, but we weren't making drivers for them because we had no expectation that anybody would play it.
So it was kind of going both directions, right? Where it was like, not only Mizuno wasn't designing Metalwoods drivers specifically for use on the tour by the best players in the world, the best players in the world had no interest in playing anything Mizuno was making. So it was kind of this negative self-fulfilling prophecy, and you basically had, you had drivers that were blue, and they looked cheap. They didn't look serious. They didn't look aesthetically. Well, and that was part of it.
You start, one of the mistakes, and we'll talk about this in another piece, was chasing a price point. instead of like, we're going to be an innovative, forward-thinking company that tries to push the envelope. Oh, those guys are selling a driver for $300, so we need to make a $300 driver. And there are trade-offs that come with that. We know that. You can't do for the lower price what you can do at the higher price. And so that was part of it. And I think probably the most telling, kind of to get a sense of kind of where how far Mizuno had kind of fallen in terms of reputation with better players. When you hear a story about Mizuno courting a player who, it's a name everybody would recognize right now, no doubt about it, and kind of talking to him about potentially becoming a Mizuno ambassador, and when the subject of the driver being brought up, and the response is not even going to try it, not even going to try it, not part of the conversation, not an option, not interested. Like you start to understand, wow, that's that's kind of where it went. And then again, kind of the happier piece of it is making a decision to like, no, we're not going to be that company anymore. We're going to get serious about the driver. We're going to do what it takes to compete with everybody else. Hopefully get to the point where we can have our own unique and true innovation that nobody else has. And part of that is a full reset on tour where it's the driver's
you have to
not
kind of
negotiable.
scrap what you were doing and start over, which they did like in 2019-ish, right?
Yeah, so late 2018, they had a meeting in Osaka, Japan, headquarters Mizuno. They made the decision, like 2019, so next year at the time, Mizuno staffers can play whatever they want for a driver. Think of it as a transition year. We'll pay them a little more if they put the Mizuno in the bag.
Incentivize them if they'll play the run.
But come 2020, if you're a Mizuno ambassador, you have to play the driver. And if you're not willing to play the driver, you're not going to be a Mizuno ambassador anymore.
Which means we also need to have something to go in your bag that will compete, because it can't be a detriment, right? So they're sitting there saying, hey, it can't be detrimental to our tour staff to force them or mandate that they put in a club that won't allow them to perform their best, right? So that was kind of the line of demarcation. Almost to me, it's like 2020 was the, hey, we're here. There isn't a plan B. I think you even talked about that in your article. Like, this is the plan. Moving forward, we are going to require this. This is what it's going to look like. They lost Eddie Pepperell because of that. They lost Lucas Glover because of that. There's probably others, like you said, players that didn't even look their way because of that, but they're playing the long game, right? This wasn't a 2020 decision to get better in 2020. It was for 25 and 6 and 7 and 8 and the next decade.
This is kind of reset for the future of the company. And
it
was kind of interesting as part of the kind of the fallout, right? You can say you're a company that has either no reputation or a bad reputation in the driver category. And suddenly you're saying, we are not going to pay you unless you play a Mizuno driver. And at that point, right, they had no reputation. ST190, just kind of, the first of its kind.
It was good for Keith Mitchell,
right? Yeah. The first of a reset, right? You can't, you're not gonna change minds with a single product. And so, had this money to spend, couldn't spend it. COVID hits, and Mizuno gets kind of reads the tea leaves correctly this time, and it's like, hey, look, the market is changing. The demographics of golf are changing. And so, they signed the two guys from Good, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And it just, I don't want to say it takes off, but it helps change minds because of the audience those guys reach. And the understanding that now, you have an entire generation of people who have no preconceived notions about Mizuno drivers. So they're willing to try.
Right.
And so that's become part of the philosophy is we're not going to chase these 28, 30-year-old tour pros. We're going to go after younger guys who are more receptive to the brand, don't have that negative history. And so that's what they've done. They have these younger guys now, and because of the younger guys, they build a new facility so that these guys have a place to go. It's boosted their R&D capabilities as well. And so you kind of see how this thing is kind of snowballing because they drew that line in the sand and said, look, we are as of today, we're going to be serious about the driver. We're going to make this happen, and we need everybody to get on board and commit.
Yeah, and like we said, it's a work in progress, right? Just as many things are, and this is, not a finished product by any means. I know in the article too, I think David Matthews says, yeah, we're pretty bloody close to where they want to be. But I think, where they want to be from an R&D perspective and a product perspective is different than a market share perspective or a perception perspective or a MyGolfSpy testing perspective, right? Like, I think there's still a long, long way to go there. But let me finish with this question on them. If that were let's say you could buy driver stock, right, in terms of where these companies are going, et cetera, and I put Mizuno out there, you can buy stock in Mizuno drivers. Are you buying that stock now over TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, Titleist?
I think there's certainly more room for Mizuno to go up, because if you look at those, right? I mean, TaylorMade and Callaway, they're gonna fight with each other and go like this in any given year, but they're gonna be steady. Titleist and Ping have room to go up. Mizuno's got, just forever space. So yeah, if you could buy really low, which I think, it's kind of where we are right now. Maybe it's ticking up a little, but it's still on the low. Yeah, I think you would probably take that.
Yeah, I think
it's not betting the chalk.
But I think that's the challenge right here. If we had to nail this down in kind of a nutshell for Mizuno, and we heard this from Callaway on the ball discussion too, you can't be just as good as the top competitor. You can't have just your version of their technology. And that's what Mizuno's had for quite a while, right? The things that were defining technologies of their driver were, again, really good maybe, but it was their version of existing technologies that everybody else have. They didn't have that one thing to go, hey, that's Mizuno, or that's identifiable with our metalwoods, and it isn't with somebody else's. They don't have that yet. So
that was again
the missing piece.
Chris being super transparent. Like, look, every one of our technologies, they work, right? They're good, but it's just a different take on something that exists elsewhere in the marketplace. And
yep.
Once you understand that, it becomes that conversation of, okay, so if you have what TaylorMade has, by some measure, you have what Callaway has, or what everybody else has.
Right. You have your speed slot, you have your variable face thickness, you have your composite crowns, you got whatever. Okay, great.
Why am I going to trust that Mizuno is better?
Right.
Why am I going to trust that your version is better when these guys have the track record, the tour wins, all of this stuff? Because we've talked about it before, but I included in the article, going back to the tour stuff. They went 19 years. 19 years between
from Vijay Singh to Keith Mitchell,
19 years,
right?
A tour event, if you will, with a Mizuno driver. So from the 2000 Masters to the 2019 Honda Classic, that was the range. And so it's I think with every release, part of the goal is like, all right, let's narrow that window, and they've done that. Now they're winning multiple times every year across the worldwide tours anyway. So
right, your Bailey Tardy, Stephen Fisk, you have players on all tours doing well. But that, to me, that's the fundamental question.
Grayson Murray. Let's not forget Grayson Murray.
2
wins in 2 years.
In the comments, you guys, here's a question for you. Is we get it. Most people are going to try between 2 and 3 drivers when they try something, right? So for a lot of people, okay, it's this, that. What would actually get you to try a Mizuno driver? We know you're going to try TaylorMade and Callaway, or it's going to be Ping and Callaway, or Titleist.
Typically, it's going to be 3, maybe 4 than an average golfer.
Yeah, I think
so. What is the thing?
What is the thing Mizuno would have to do to get into that third, even consideration slot? Post your comments. Let us know what you think. There's a lot of stuff there. We'll tally them up and come back to you later. That sounds reasonable. I think that sounds reasonable. Again, Lab Golf, if you have questions on Lab Golf, we got a couple other spicy articles that are out there. We got Q&A. We got another video that we can link to. We'll link to all that stuff here on your Lab Golf part of stuff. But anyway, Tony's story will hit first. And on that note, we out.